So as we celebrate, our work and our SALT Summit that we have here, I have to admit that, we got this idea from elsewhere, as you do with most ideas. The folks up in New Hampshire have been doing it longer than us. New Hampshire SALT Symposium was an event that we learned from, and we wanted to be like them. They do things a little different. And we're excited to have Dean Outhouse here from up there. He's with Piscataqua Landscaping and Tree Service and started there in 2022 after having been in the commercial snow and ice management industry for over 25 years. He serves as a trainer for the New Hampshire Green SnowPro program and is on SIMA's editorial committee and for the Snow Business magazine, which I hope many of you have seen. And over the years, Dean has made a concerted effort to reduce the environmental impact of winter operations. And I do have to admit, as I said, I like to do a little searching to get little tidbits on everyone. So I looked for Dean Outhouse and New Hampshire, and I don't know if Dean knows this, but I found about somebody else who was charged with embezzling from a local police agency, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I get into here? But Dean, I'm sure that's not you, but with that lighthearted note, I want to welcome the real Dean Outhouse to the stage, so thank you.
As Chris stated, research and development, right? It mirrored us. I was at a conference a few years ago. Someone said research and development is rob and duplicate. Take someone else's idea, make it your own. And we'll go into a lot of other stuff, but first I want to say I am originally from New York. I haven't always resided in New England. I was born in upstate Cayuga Lake region out of Auburn. So don't hate me because I'm a Pats fan. Pats suck right now anyway, so I'm fully with you guys right now. So, been doing this for 25 years. And Ted, who we just saw up there, is extremely energetic. I work with him in the Green SnowPro program, and everything he just stated revolves around culture. Everything we're trying to do here, we all are trying to do it. We're all trying to be better, but I picture it as two linemen, right? There's us, the contractors, municipalities, the scientists, and we're pushing up against the attorneys and the politicians. And unfortunately, they have deeper pockets. It's what it is. To make change, we really got to go all in, and there's plenty of ways to do it. Yes, that is my last name, Outhouse, spelled commonly, O-U-T-H-O-U-S-E, but the one thing it is that you won't forget me after today. Someone asked who we spoke with. I don't know, some guy by the name of Outhouse. I will be the one guy that you remember from this seminar, other than Phil Sexton, because everyone knows Phil Sexton. So this next slide, I'm not peacocking here or anything like that. Everything comes down to training, and I say training and certification because if you ever gone to court for a slip and fall, they are going to find any source, any hole to dive into. So continue to train, renew your training, do as much training as you can, but don't be overwhelmed when you come into something like this. Be jotting down all these ideas and want to come back into that first meeting, get back and just diarrhea on the table, this is all you want to do. Take one item from that list and set it as your goal, an attainable goal, what you can attain from these seminars and implement it. If you've done that, you've succeeded. And then move on to the next one, but you've already succeeded because you've already implemented one item from a seminar. So the next slide, obviously it's already what Chris already went over. Everything I've done. So graduated from UNH back in '98, began my own snow removal company, had that in place up until COVID. I worked very closely in the Seacoast region with Piscataqua Landscaping. Back in 2022, Piscataqua Landscaping offered me a job to take over this industry and help them to expand. We currently service from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, all the way up to Thompson, Maine. We have 6 branches. So we're growing, and I cannot keep up, to be honest with you. An example, back in 2009, what was that? How many years ago? 10, 13? Justin Games from Piscataqua was on the cover the following issue. My company was on the cover. 13 years later, we're working together. He and I have employed the same strategies and stuff, so it's worked well. New Hampshire, the first nation to use salt. We brought it in. We are to blame for all these issues, but we also recognized that and started developing strategies, best practices to get better at it. Salt has been used or doubled in 40 years. This scientist in the room, I did 2 years of high school in chemistry. My chemistry teacher came to my graduation and said, "You didn't pass, but I like you, you're going through." So I struggle with chemistry, but I rely, when I go to court, I rely on those professionals to bring them into court. If you've ever gone to court, if you don't know the answer, simply say that and refer to a professional. That's the biggest key I can give. Chloride contaminant is increasing. The expectation in the Seacoast, New Hampshire, Maine region is unattainable. The theory of black surfaces throughout a blizzard, some companies expect. You have someone when it's a storm of 10 and 12 inches and you got someone in a smart car trying to go out to Walgreens to get their 2-liter bottle of soda. It doesn't work. And as soon as the storm ends, they're calling you wondering why it's not black. We have to change that culture and we have to educate the people we work for, but unfortunately some of our biggest culprits are some of the federal governments that we maintain. Piscataqua was in a unique position because we're also the Department of Public Works for a small town, first in the state of New Hampshire to do that. We handle everything for them. In the first year that we took it on, our salt consumption was 1/3 of what they used in the past 10 years. So we knocked out 2/3 of their salt usage in just the first year we started servicing their roadways. So how this all came about, how the Green Snow program came about, was during the expansion of the Interstate 93 corridor. They started expanding. It was a single lane, one direction each way. They expanded it to 4 lanes. In the process of doing that, they had to do core samples. They had to do all the testing of all the waterways, and they were finding out that they were unsustainable. The chloride levels in these waterways were above acceptable levels. So they started doing the research. As they did the research, again, reactive rather than proactive, we have to do something to resolve it. Well, what are we going to do? Well, we determined it's a private contractor, right? This was the chart that they came up. They were saying that 50% of the chloride that's in our waters is coming from our private contractors. Only 27% was from the municipalities. Kind of reverse what you guys are experiencing here. So the program in New Hampshire was based or focused solely towards the private contractors. So we were fortunate enough, being the first one, to come up with a New Hampshire state law that adds an extra layer of liability protection for the private contractor. But there's certain things that contractor has to do. They have to have proper documentation. If we have GPS, most people we do now, save that for 5 years, because you could come up with a lawsuit in 3 or 4 years down the road. Every person who operates a bulk spreader in our company is certified through the Green Snow program and gets retrained every year. Training documentation has to be kept on every single individual. And when we do this, you're still not out of the loop. Even though you have the extra layer of protection, you still can get in trouble. Not in trouble, but again, politicians and the insurance companies pushing back against us. We have all had a slip and fall that we knew we were in the right, but the insurance company settled. And I don't have an answer for that. I know that when I do get a notification of a slip and fall, I have a proper documentation I go through 48 hours before a storm, 48 hours after the storm, all of our intel, weather reports 7 days before, 7 days after, and then I pop my certification in there. At that point, it generally doesn't go any further. But that comes back to the attorneys. The attorneys in the state of New Hampshire now are like, oh shit, and I'm from New England, so I apologize for the swearing, but it does happen every now and then. They realized we're losing a lot of money here because a lot of our cases aren't going to court because of this extra layer of protection. So in a way, we paved the road for this program, but we also made it harder for others to duplicate it because the attorneys are in the politicians' pockets and they are kind of fighting us tooth and nail through the process. Part of my responsibilities with the Snow and Ice Management Association Board of Directors is I have implemented a state-by-state task force, so to say, to be following up on all these legislative deals and assisting states how to go about doing it. It's just in the works. It's not a quick turnaround. It's got a attainable goal of 3 to 5 years to be successful in assisting states with this, implementing a state RSA like we have. Going back to how you go about getting the certification, obviously, initially, it's an 8-hour course. It's very death by PowerPoint, running through scenarios, numerous scenarios, different temperatures, different weather patterns, different humidities, different, the wetness of the snow and all that. And every year you have to go through, or I think 3 years now, you have to go through a follow-up course. But the SIMA, Snow and Ice Management Association, Symposium, the SALT Symposium, other symposiums are deemed as training classes that count towards your hours. This is a form I fill out for everyone. So in 2013, the first season we did it, we had 39 Green SnowPro certificates. 10 years later, we have 712 private, and in 2 years, we have 177 municipalities in it now. Well, that's the company's different slide. Going back to what Allison said, training. Piscataqua is in a position where we have a training coordinator. They do tailgate talks in the winter. We have random weekly sessions that we do training. Everything's documented, and we try to send everyone to as much training as we can within the limits that we're able to with all the other responsibilities that everyone's doing. But New Hampshire hosts, through the University of New Hampshire, hosts about 20 to 40 classes starting in August, and they go through the winter. Some of the different events that we've held, different locations. A couple years ago, we were at Loudon Speedway. This past year, we were at Cisco Breweries in New Hampshire. And just 2 weeks ago, we were in Concord, New Hampshire. This is all voluntarily. Any company can do it. Any municipality can do it. Obviously, the state charges. So a couple of years ago, North Point, Rob, a friend of mine, he was the first one to go through this process. And this was our first success underneath the liability protection program. Rob did everything right. He had his GPS software. He had his all the processes in place. He had his training. He had everything down to a T. The bookkeeping, the amount of detail that he had was something I've never seen. This case was a couple of years, and it cost him a lot of money. But it was the first time that the jury won this case with Rob. So it was considered success, but again, even though we have this liability protection in the state of New Hampshire, it's not a get-out-of-jail-free card. We have to be doing everything that everyone's talking about today. So that case was won approximately 2 years ago by the Supreme Court. One of the biggest wins for the Green SnowPro program, and a reason why when someone hands in that certificate with all that other documentation, it generally doesn't go any further. But your insurance company has to be on board as well, which is one of the hardest things with less and less insurance companies providing insurance for winter contractors. It is a struggle. So that was a quick presentation regarding training with the SIMA. We're hosting our event this year in Cincinnati. If you can make it, it's the 23rd to the 26th. Has anyone ever been to one? How many? Only a few? Well, if you can, it's well worth it. It's not so much the training, and Phil can attest to this, Nicole can attest to this, it's also the networking that you receive. A lot of these peer groups I do are with people in Canada, West Coast, Midwest, and if I'm having an issue or thinking of something, I'm going to call Tom in Chicago. Hey, I got this idea. He's like, don't do that. I did it. It didn't work. So the ability to bounce off ideas of people, not just in your jurisdiction, but others, is worth its weight in gold. John Crandall, for not the municipalities, but the private contractors, John Crandall has a book out that it's obviously not written by a professional writer because there's several mistakes in it, but he loves hearing about that. But it's fun to read, it's a quick read, and he touched bases on a lot of different scenarios that I encourage you to read it. It's only a couple hours read. All the proceeds that he has for this book go to charity. Not a single cent goes to John or J.C. Grounds. He donates a lot of money to the breast cancer awareness out of Boston. Again, regarding specific questions regarding the Green SnowPro program, Aubrey, if questions for me, that's my information. Email me. Be more than happy to get you as much information as I can when I'm allowed. It may take a couple days to get it. But that's really the gist of our program is we created the issue by you being the first one to use salt. We then realized it, and now we're trying to rectify it, but then also offering our knowledge to the other states that are trying to do the same. So I hope you guys have some questions.
Has Piscataqua had to test this yourselves yet?
No, we have not. Luckily, the one case that Justin Gamser, who's the president, the one case that he had to go to court was someone slipped and fell inside the building. And the reason is because it was contract wording, and that's something I want to mention. His contract years before said the removal of snow as opposed to displacement. The attorney got him on, well, you didn't remove the snow, because if you removed the snow, it would have been wet inside the lobby. So it's true. It's insane. And Phil, right? Some of these things that come up in contracts, you really got to read some of these contracts. And these contracts that you get back from other people, black stuff out. I mean, I only really approve half these contracts. I'm taking a black marker and marking everything I can out, and then my contract states my contract supersedes yours. Do you agree? Yeah. But that was the only case that really went deep into trial, and it was just on that one word, removal as opposed to displacement. It's crazy. Yes, sir.
Even for like a slip and fall case that doesn't go far, do you know the cost about what it, even if it doesn't go into litigation like that?
So the ones that I've done, I had 4 this past winter, and it didn't go anywhere. It was just basically my time on taking my spreadsheets, putting it all together, handing it to, whoever in the office, go and send this off to the insurance carrier. Insurance carrier gets it, sends it to the defender or plaintiff or whoever he wants. And as soon as they see that certification from myself and Justin, it doesn't go any further. That's this year. I don't know what's going to happen in the years to come, but so far, the 4 that we had this year haven't gone anywhere. Yes. But again, yeah. And again, the attorneys in New Hampshire, the border states are saying, do not let this pass. We're losing money from it. That is the fact. That's the truth, unfortunately. A couple more, come on. A couple more questions?
Okay. Who was actually behind launching this program in the first place? Who made this happen in New Hampshire?
So Ted, who you saw up there speaking before in the video, he was one of the originals, but as far as the person who, I couldn't answer that. I probably should know that, and I will find that out. But I know Ted was involved in the original process back in 2013. And the one crazy thing is that this is done by the state of New Hampshire, but in a bid contract for the state of New Hampshire, this isn't required to be certified. And I've been fighting for years to get any contractor who submits a bid for the state of New Hampshire be certified, and I've had pushback on that, which I don't understand.
So we have that. So for those of you who saw Smartable Salt was up there, so I'm on the board for Smartable Salt. Same program, New Hampshire Green SnowPro, exact same as Smartable Salt. Smartable Salt is in Canada. Exact same program. I got the master's certification back in 2000. I looked it up, 2014. Same program, delivered a little bit differently. but we had it so that if you were to bid on any municipal contract, you had to be SmartVille certified.
Yes.
Except they would, instead of, and which was great for the private contractor, because we'd be like, yes, that, oh, sorry. I'm afraid of microphones. But instead of allowing it so you had to be certified in order to bid on it, they would allow you to get it, which, you know, anyone that wanted to bid on it could get it just to do that. But it's a great program for anyone who hasn't done it.
So what you just said, how the wording is a lot of the companies, the property management companies word it just that way when submitting a bid, but I don't understand why the state of New Hampshire isn't requesting it or requiring it.
And we're working on getting the same kind of protections in Ontario and Canada. Because you'd think it would be easier for us, but it's not. We did the same thing. We went down to Queen's Park 2 years ago in October, and we're lobbying to get protection. But we got our what do you call it? I'm looking at you. We only have to. You have, what is it? It's down to like under a year to sue you, to be sued now. Our statute of limitations. We got it down to like under 2 years.
Yeah, no, we're at between 3 and 5 right now, depending upon when it gets filed.
So, I mean, it helps, but this is New York State, it's a little bit different.
So all the training that we do with our individuals, I still, when I go out the next day, I pull my hair out, I cringe, I take pictures, I'm like, what is going on? We go over this every time, guys. Why is there, and I saw the pictures up in a couple other slides that you had prior to this about the salt paths. We get that even when we train, and the question is, well, I didn't want to go out the next morning. So we train, but we still have people who aren't not willing, but I understand, like, we're tired. No one wants to go back out after being out 24 hours and only getting 3 hours of sleep. So I get it, but there's just got to make certain tweaks in the routes or something like that, but we still get it even though we train. The one biggest thing, if anyone's ever considering going into liquids, the best path is sidewalks. Sidewalks, you'll get your greatest return on investments on that. You won't get the complaints about the granule or anything like that. The only thing that is coming down the pipe is who makes that product that you're putting out. If you're making it in-house, make sure you're documenting the salinity every step of the way. When you make it, what time you're making it, when you tested it, when it went on the truck, and when you're testing when it goes out of the truck, because that's an avenue that the attorneys are going to go after next.
So just a couple of questions. First of all, around training. Is the training primarily around paperwork and record keeping, or does it have to do with the actual maintenance as well, like what to do, how much to put down, etc.?
D, all the above, everything.
Okay. So go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So follow-up question to that. I'm assuming that, so what we've seen in the last decade or so is that training sometimes or often isn't universal. So it would depend on the kind of customers you're servicing, it would depend on the kind of equipment you have, the kind of staff, the kind of contracts, etc. So I understand the part where bulletproof paperwork will kind of help you get, say, 70% along the way, but sometimes those decisions would be different from me versus you versus somebody else. So how do you accommodate for different, I'd say, operations in your training? And how much success have you seen with the actual training that you provide actually making an impact on the operational side of it, not the paperwork side of it? And if you have any examples of that.
Well, specific examples, no, but I can say that our total service acreage area is increasing. Meanwhile, our salt usage, even though we're more salt applications per winter now, less snow, more salt applications, just because in the Seacoast region, it will start off as snow, it will change to sleet. For 4 hours in the afternoon, it changes to rain, back to sleet, and back to snow. And then it stops for an hour, we all send everyone home, and then it snows another 2 hours. So we saw any given storm 5 to 6 times, which you were like, holy shit, but it's because of the different weathers that are coming in at different times and the different travel. So we are seeing a decrease in the amount of salt usage, but an increase in the amount of acreage. So people are abiding by the cards in the trucks that set, you know, the account managers go, we want you to use setting number 3 this storm. So that's what we've done. And that comes back to the calibration and knowing, and our regional managers determining what range to set the spreaders on, as opposed to the guy just getting in there, cranking each one up to 10 and just going. So it's not I can't show you on paper, I can just give you the generalization. And now, with the electronics and stuff that are coming out, the new Boss spreaders, the new Salt spreaders, all these new controllers can actually capture the amount of pounds you're putting out on a given site.
Time for one more?
Go ahead,
Hi,
Erin.
thanks. I'm from Connecticut DEEP, and we've been having trouble getting the liability passed through Connecticut. They've tried once or twice, it's gotten squashed each time, hasn't made it out of committee. Particularly because in Connecticut, they're struggling with trying to get it defined to slips and trips. How did New Hampshire define the liability limitations? And Connecticut was perceived as, well, you're free from any liability.
No. So what New Hampshire did was we got, and I don't know if you did this route, we got the watershed and the Department of Environmental Services involved in really having those two entities push us across the finish line is what got us. All the attorney jargon in there can always be manipulated or changed, but having that backing of the two big bodies within the government is what got us across the finish line. Aaron's got one more.
So, Dean, the New England rumor mill being what it is, Vermont is trying to get this in place. It may already be underway.
Yep.
The word on the street was that, while initially this had been experiencing some success in limitation of liability, that more recently it was not as robust, and as what you're alluding to, things seem to be more aggressive, and then participation as a result was kind of falling off in terms of less people were wanting to be certified. Can you speak to that? Is that just a New England rumor, or is that founded?
It's true and not true. So what happened was after North Point, prior to North Point, all the trainings and everything, and us saying, oh, this is the greatest thing in the world, you know, come buy this property beside the lake when there's no lake exists, was dying off, yes. And then once Rob and North Point was successful, the numbers started going back up again. It's like anything, there's trends. COVID obviously had an effect with it too. But again, it's not a out of jail free card. You need to really be doing the paperwork. And I guess we're at the point now that I think we may be even taking an approach that if people aren't doing the paperwork, they're going to pull certifications. That's been discussed too.
Great, Dean.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you.